Once upon a time, in a village, there lived two men named Bill and Bob. Both Bill and Bob were lazy, disliked work, and enjoyed drinking, making them unpopular among the villagers. However, their shared laziness and love for alcohol naturally led them to become good friends. Since Bill and Bob didn't have a permanent residence in the village, they had spent nights in various places. However, they had a firm rule not to stay in the graveyard, as it was rumored to be haunted by ghosts. According to the legend, the ghosts gathered there every night, and anyone who entered would face terrible consequences. One night, after a few too many drinks, the intoxicated Bill expressed his desire to sleep in the graveyard. Bob, concerned, tried to dissuade him, saying, "Don't go, don't go." But Bill, ignoring the advice, insisted, "No, tonight I must sleep in the graveyard and see what it's like." Bob, fearing the supernatural, replied, "If that's the case, go by yourself. I'm not coming with you, sorry." So Bill, carrying a bottle of alcohol, swayed his way towards the graveyard. Sitting on a tombstone, Bill slowly sipped his drink. As he became more intoxicated, his courage grew. In the deep of the night, 2 or 3 ghosts appeared as if carried by the wind. Seeing them, Bill casually struck up a conversation, saying, "You guys seem a bit late today." The ghosts, thinking Bill was one of them, didn't suspect anything and greeted him with, "Good evening, good evening." More and more ghosts arrived, and the graveyard became crowded. At one point, a ghost stood up and surveyed the surroundings, saying, "It seems there's a human smell. Is there someone suspicious here?" Another ghost suggested, "Let's count the number of people and we'll know." Bill immediately stood up and loudly counted, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's right, that's right. Everyone was relieved and continued chatting. One talkative ghost then asked, "Hey, everyone, listen up. Underneath where I'm sitting, there are 7 jars buried with lots of gold coins. Did you know that?" No one knew about it, so he continued, "How about this? Tomorrow night, I'll dig them up to show you." Bill pretended not to care, but remembered the exact location where the ghost had been sitting. The next morning, Bill asked Bob for help, and they went to the spot indicated by the ghost. To their surprise, they found 7 jars filled with gold coins, making Bill a wealthy man. Bill bought a beautiful house, and Bob moved in with him. They both started living a luxurious life. Feeling a bit awkward about staying at Bill's house, Bob decided he also wanted to visit the graveyard and see if he could learn about things like jars filled with gold coins. The following night, Bob set out for the graveyard. He sat on a tombstone, eagerly awaiting the appearance of the ghosts. However, due to excessive drinking, he unintentionally dozed off. As the ghosts started to appear one by one in the deep of the night, Bob remained oblivious. With most of the ghosts present, the graveyard became crowded. Suddenly, one ghost remarked, "There's a human smell. There must be someone. It must be the person who stole our coins last time. This time we must investigate thoroughly." They began counting the number of beings, and no matter how they counted, there was always one extra. At this moment, Bob finally woke up, realizing that all the ghosts in the graveyard were looking at him suspiciously. However, he had no chance to escape. The ghosts carefully examined his face and exclaimed, "How despicable! It is indeed a human. We need to teach him a lesson." Each ghost took turns pulling Bob's nose. Bob's nose, pulled forcefully by each ghost, kept elongating until it reached a length of 1 meter. But the ghosts didn't stop at stretching his nose. They kicked and beat Bob, leaving him half dead. The next morning, worried about Bob, Bill went to the graveyard. Upon arrival, he found Bob lying in the graveyard, his nose stretched to an absurd length and his body covered in injuries. Bill carried Bob back home, and the villagers couldn't help but laugh at the comical appearance of Bob's nose, although they also sympathized with his condition. Bill, feeling responsible for Bob's plight, said, "All right, today I will go to the graveyard again to see if I can find a way to cure your nose." That evening, Bill, with a bottle of alcohol in hand, went to the graveyard and slowly began drinking, waiting for the ghosts to appear. When the ghosts gathered, Bill started speaking. "Good evening, everyone. I came a bit earlier today to see if we can catch a human nose like yesterday. You all crowded around him, and I couldn't get close, so I didn't get to grab his nose at all. Not fun." The ghosts chuckled, not suspecting anything. The graveyard became crowded again, and a ghost smelled the human scent. Bill stood up, shouting, "It must be the smell left by the human yesterday, for sure." Everyone quickly believed him. Feeling more secure, Bill continued, "Think about it. Yesterday, that human's nose became so long it was hilarious. Do you think his nose will return to its original state?" One ghost asked, "What? You don't know? You're also one of us." Bill replied, "Oh, I forgot." The ghost explained, "The method is to gently rub the tip of the nose with a grindstone. Each rub reduces 10 centimeters, and after a few rubs, it will return to its original state." Bill, armed with this knowledge, entertained the ghosts with numerous questions, making everyone laugh all night. At dawn, Bill hurried back home and prepared to use a grindstone to gently rub the tip of Bob's nose. However, he had to be cautious not to rub too much, as the nose might disappear. So, Bill carefully and gently used the grindstone, gradually shortening Bob's 1-meter-long nose until it returned to its original size. After this incident, both Bill and Bob started working hard. They never dared to visit the graveyard again, and they transformed into earnest, responsible individuals.